So have you ever looked at your gas furnace or your water heater and just thought, what if I could ditch all of this? Go completely fossil fuel free at home. I know, it sounds like a huge project, right? Almost impossible. Well, today we're going to look at one homeowner who did exactly that. He pulled it off. And we're going to start with the house at the center of it all. Okay, here it is. This is the house. At first glance, it looks like a pretty typical single-family home, right? It's in Naperville, Illinois, and it belongs to a guy named Dan. But Dan decided to do something, well, something pretty radical. We're not just talking about sorting his recycling or composting. Nope, he was thinking way bigger. He wanted to completely transform his home's entire energy footprint. In his own words, he set out on a full-scale transformation to complete the transition away from fossil fuels. And I really want to emphasize this. We're not just talking about slapping some solar panels on the roof and calling it a day. This was a top-to-bottom complete overhaul. And that really brings us to the two huge questions we're going to dig into today. First, how on earth did he actually do it? And maybe more importantly, after all that work and all that money, was it actually worth it? So let's break down his entire journey step by step.
First up, a homeowner's green mission. Because before we get into the how, you got to understand the why. What was the driving force behind this whole thing?
All right, next, the preparation playbook. You know, Dan was smart about this. He knew you can't just jump into a project this massive. It all starts with a plan.
And honestly, this might be the most important takeaway from his whole story. The key to his success. It was all about meticulous planning and education. You can't just wing something like this. His success was literally built on that foundation.
So what did that foundation look like? Well, it really came down to three big steps. First, and this is huge, he hired an expert consultant. He didn't try to figure it all out himself. Second, he did his homework. He actually took classes on solar energy to really understand the tech. And third, he used a decision-making framework to keep everything on track. See? No guesswork here. This was a real strategy.
Okay, on to section 3, the all-electric toolkit. So the plan is locked in. Now comes the really fun part, all the new gear and gadgets. Let's see what he actually put in the house.
And really, this is the heart of the whole project. It's a series of one-for-one swaps. So out went the old gas furnace and AC, and in came a super efficient heat pump. Then, the gas water heater, gone, replaced with a hybrid electric water heater. Even the laundry room got an upgrade. The gas dryer was swapped for a heat pump dryer. And in the kitchen, he replaced the gas stove with a sleek induction stove.
But it didn't stop with just the appliances. To really complete the whole clean energy ecosystem, he also installed solar panels on the roof, a dedicated solar hot water system, beefed up the home's insulation, and, the cherry on top, a home charging station for his electric vehicle.
All right, next up, let's talk real-world hurdles and costs. Because, let's be honest, all of this sounds incredible, but we all know a project this big is never easy or cheap. So, let's get real.
Now here's something that might surprise you. Dan's biggest headache wasn't the technology. The tech worked great. His single biggest hurdle? Finding good, knowledgeable contractors who actually knew how to install and work with this stuff. It's a really important point. Sometimes the workforce just hasn't caught up to the technology yet.
And now for the number you've probably been wondering about this whole time. The grand total for the entire project came in at around $75,000. Yeah, that is a serious investment. No two ways about it.
So how tough was it really? On a scale of 1 to 5, Dan rated the difficulty a 3. So, not a walk in the park, but definitely manageable. And in terms of a timeline, this wasn't a quick fix. The whole thing, from the very first bit of planning to the final inspection, took over a full year.
Okay, so how does anyone afford a $75,000 project? Well, here's the crucial part. He didn't just write a check for the full amount. He was able to use a whole mix of federal tax credits, local rebates, and state programs that made it financially possible. That stack of incentives was absolutely essential to making the math work.
Which brings us to our final section, the electrification payoff. After all that time, all that money, and all those headaches with contractors, we get to the bottom line. Was it all worth it?
And the answer is a resounding yes. When asked to rate his satisfaction with the whole thing, Dan gives it a 5 out of 5, a perfect score, absolutely no regrets.
So why the perfect score? What makes him so happy with the outcome? Well, it's because the project didn't just have one benefit. It delivered what he calls a trifecta of rewards, like hitting the jackpot, but for your home.
And here they are. First, he's seeing real cost savings on his monthly bills. That's a big one. Second, there's the huge positive impact on the climate, which was his main goal. And third, and this is something a lot of people don't even think about, is way better indoor health. When you get rid of all the things in your house that burn gas, you're also getting rid of indoor air pollutants.
When it's all said and done, Dan's message for the rest of us is pretty simple and pretty powerful. He says, climate change can't wait. The sooner you act, the sooner you benefit. It really reframes the whole idea, doesn't it? It's not just about what you're giving up. It's about what you're gaining.
You know, Dan's story is about a huge, full-scale transformation, but it's important to remember that it all started with just one decision to look into it. So that really leaves us all with a question to think about. What could your first step be?